Hello. Now, before I can talk about anything relating to my ants, I think it's first very important to spend an episode talking about the ant life cycle, as it's very important to understand if you're going to understand what I'm doing. Now, the way ant life cycle works is it's a little complicated, but and it's a little hard to place exactly where to start, but I'll start with a queen. Now, a queen is a type of ant which is, each species has their own queens, and a queen is slightly larger than your average worker ant you see running around on the ground. And when a queen is fertilized, I'll get to how that happens in a moment, she will then dig a little hole in the ground, an area she finds suitable. Basically, it has to have high humidity and high heat. And once she digs that hole, she'll go into it, bury herself, and after a couple months, she will lay eggs. She'll tend to these eggs until they eventually grow and hatch into worker ants. And for a little while, she can support the worker ants by it's called being a claustral queen. She can, using a method called trophallaxis, she can feed her workers via like spitting this basically like food, mucus, just digestive fluid mix that's food for them. She can feed and sustain them for a couple weeks, but after that time, once there's a couple workers around, the workers will need to go out and forage for food. Other workers will also continue to build the nest. Basically, once this happens, a nest is developed. Now, once a nest reaches a specific size, it varies depending on colony and just it's kind of random as well. Then the queen will start creating elates. Elates are young male ants and young queen ants. Now, something to establish is that actually every single ant you normally see, the normal workers, are all females, and males are very strange. They're actually quite small compared to the normal ants, and they have wings, and so do the queens. The queens are larger and also have wings. And basically what happens is once it becomes nuptial flight season, which is spring in most areas of the world, but it varies depending on ant species and where you are in the world, then all these elates will fly up into the air and they will mate in the air, and the queens will become fertilized. After a couple days, all the males will die because their purpose has been fulfilled. All they need to do is just fertilize the queen. Once the queen is fertilized, she will go back down onto the ground, and she will look for a small, suitable area. It has to have high humidity and high heat, and she'll dig a little burrow, go into it, and bury herself, as I've said. So basically, this whole cycle just restarts. That's how, basically, the ant life cycle works. And what I'm trying to do, and how a human can start their own ant colony, is you have to go out during nuptial flight season. You can look it up where it is in wherever you live. And you have to go out and you have to find a queen ant. It has to be after it is fertilized, but before it's buried itself, because obviously you can't find it if it's buried itself. And that is the optimal time to find a queen. And once you have them, you put them into a test tube setup, which I'll get to in the next video. And then you have to keep them in a dark area for a couple of months, depending on, once again, the species. It can be almost as much as a year, depending on, once again, the species. And then she'll start laying eggs and workers, and then you have a colony you can work with. That is what my mission is, and if you're interested, that's what you can do. I'll get into what a test tube setup and a lot more detail on how to help in a future video, but I hope this information has helped you to understand. Thank you, and goodbye.